Welcome back to Two Pondering Pagans.
I'm Rook.
And I'm Salon.
Today we'll be doing a video on magical intent and integrity.
Super exciting. We want to go through some details with you, but first,
roll that intro. So, in talking about intent, we started with looking at what is the definition of intent. So, it's described by Merriam-Webster as an adjective as directed with strained or eager attention.
Yep, and as a noun, it is that thing that we aim for. So, what is our purpose?
And so having the mind, attention, and will focused on a specific end or a specific purpose. That's what intent is, literally.
And I think we talk about intent a lot in Magick, but nobody ever really looks at defining what intent is. And I think that that's a really important piece of the puzzle, because you have different camps of people that really look at, intent is everything, which I do agree with. And then the other camp that says intent is not everything, it's all about action. I think if you really understand that definition of intent as both a noun and an adjective to describe things, then it makes more sense, because that intent doesn't exist, like it doesn't go anywhere without action. Those two things, for me, when we say intent, we include that action in it.
Yeah, because what does it mean, and what can happen, as we'll talk about later, when you don't have a clear intent. Intent is very significant in what you're trying to achieve, manifest, or do. So I wanted to share a personal experience I had with intent and Magick and the outcomes that I experienced. I had some adverse effects. So about 2.5 years ago, I had a job opportunity that paid significantly more, about $20,000 more a year. I heard the money and I went for it. I did some candle magic. I called, put in my application. I got a phone interview. The phone interview went really well. During the phone interview, at the conclusion, I set up an in-person interview. And while I was waiting it was a couple days out to go to the interview, I did some candle magic. I put herbs on for prosperity and success. I did a spell. It was something to the effect of, universe, listen to me. I seized the opportunity, salary, then more than at this time. I claim this job opportunity as mine. I worked hard, I focused on it, but my intent was on the money. I saw that $20,000 as a big deal. I went to the in-person interview, and before I walked out of the interview, I had secured the job. Great, right? That's what I wanted. I wanted the money, which can always be a good thing. It depends. So in my profession, when you accept a job, you're run through a background check. I work in healthcare. Immediately, the whole process was placed on hold, and it was placed on hold for a little over 2 months. That should have been a sign not to mess with the universe. I was content in the job that I had, but I saw the money, and that's what I went for. So for 2 months, I didn't have a job. I didn't have income coming in. I had to live off savings. And then, the position was cleared. My background came back, and I was ready to start. The second week on my job, I was asked by a supervisor to do a couple things I really didn't want to do. It wasn't in my leadership style. I just wasn't comfortable with it. I went along with it. There were some comments made about the organization that should have been a warning sign. I kept on going because the money, right? Throughout my time with the organization, I was given 3 significant raises. My first annual was 7.5%, which is unheard of anymore. The second annual was 10%, and then just out of the blue at a meeting, I was bumped up another 15,000 just because of performance, personality, a couple other things. So I was in heaven because of money, right? Wrong. That job started to change who I was, how I was a leader, how I interacted with people, and it was just a heavy feeling constantly on me, even when I was at home. So I did end up leaving that place for about a $30,000 pay cut, and it was the right thing. I've got my personality back. I've got the support and the leadership that more aligns with my style. I go to work. I've never worked this hard and been this happy and had this much fun. So my lesson for my story is watch what you ask for, check your intent, because you just might get it. So what I took from that, what I should have learned, I should have done a working that said, hey, universe, I have this opportunity. I want to be prosperous. But what does prosperity mean? And to me, you can't put a price on happiness. You can't put a price on teamwork. You can't put a price on your conscience or your peace. So when doing a work, and what I learned from that is to put out what my intent is. Universe, I have this opportunity. What is best and what should be, and let what should be ultimately be what results from it. So I tell everybody now, employees, people that I counsel, don't always look at money, whether they're a magical person or not. Think about the price of your peace and your happiness, and always, always, always be prepared for effects. I call them side effects of your magic. You just might get what you ask for.
Yeah, and then when you look at integrity, it's looking at 2 different things from a definition standpoint. It's looking at, what is what you're doing with honesty, or the search for completeness, and that's completeness for you, for community, for whatever it is you're looking for. And I think that's going to be important. Again, in the story that you share, you talk a little bit about that, and same for me. But that integrity piece is really, really all about being honest with yourself first.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely being right, just, or fair, being complete or whole. And integrity can mean different things to different people. What my code is going to be different than what yours is. What are you willing to do? How far are you willing to go or take it to get what you want with your intent?
Yeah. And I think before we go into the deep dive for integrity, we'll take a look at intent first in a little bit of detail. So, we're doing candle magic is something that we tend to do a lot of. And in that magic, you think, you have that intent, and you constantly think about what it is you're doing. And that intent is getting your mind into the space where you are truly working towards whatever that action is, whatever that manifestation is, because that's really what we're looking for, is manifestation at any given magic, really. So that's just a critical piece. So as we go deeper into intent, we look at what is the action that we're doing.
Absolutely.
So I don't really have a story specifically to share, but I did want to talk about integrity and intention just in my own practice. So I think everybody's practice is different, so it's important to really consider, how it functions for yourself. So it's almost like, everything that you do, hopefully beforehand you think about it, but sometimes we don't, because we're human. I can't tell you that every piece of magic I've ever done has been with the right intent or with integrity. I can't say that because I don't know. But what I can say is that when I have had issues or concerns or something that's come up, think about it afterwards, right? And you go back and you look at what you did and what happened and try to figure it out. So really the conversation with intent and integrity for me is, at minimum, think about what you're doing first, make sure it makes sense to the process and whatever it is you're trying to do. And also to kind of think about what is it that you want out of it, and really consider it. And if you do something that's, you've moved it really quickly, or you really didn't think about it all the way through and something doesn't work out the right way, I would, in my practice, but also would ask that you think about it afterwards and consider what you could have done differently or what you might have thought about that could have potentially changed the outcome or made you more whole. So it's always a good idea to think about what you're doing anyway. But we're human. I mean, we all always do things that we may not wish we had done, or we regret things, or whatever it is in your mundane life. Well, it's the same with magic. You may have run a spell that you think afterwards, like, probably should not have done that. The important piece is that you take the opportunity to go back and look at it, and you consider what it is that you could have done differently. And I think that increases your integrity of being willing to be honest with yourself when you mess up. And just in magic and paganism in general, and life in general, if you do something that's not quite exactly the way you wanted to, be willing to go back and look at it and consider changing things. Sometimes you can't change things, but you can always learn from your own mistakes and from others. I think the other thing with integrity and intention for me is listening, but not necessarily basing what you do off of what everybody else says you have to do. And so I think that's important because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things to read. Yes, you should read. Yes, you should talk to people. No, I don't think you have to listen to every single thing somebody tells you should or should not do. But people have some really good experiences, so you should listen to them and consider and be open to those things. And I think that also increases integrity as a whole. So again, I hope that you have the opportunity to really sit down and think about your intent as not just what you want or desire, but about, or as a thing as, how do I say it? That you're aiming to, or what your purpose is for that specific thing, and really consider why, and then put the action behind it to support moving towards it, and then be honest with yourself. And I think that ultimately is what defines our intent and our integrity, and leads us towards manifesting what it is that we wish to get out of this life.
To me, and I think I won't speak for you, but manifestation is combined with intent and action. Mm-hmm. So, for example, you want to make more money. Well, what are you doing? Are you taking a class, maybe getting a degree or certification so that you qualify for promotion at work?
It's just like you want to retire early. You can't just retire early. You have to put things in place. How much are you saving? How much are you cutting? What are the things you're doing to reach that goal? So, intent really is important, and I think we tend to forget one or the other. So we want something like to retire early, but we don't put it in the front of our mind and make it a focused goal. Well, that's your intent. And then we don't necessarily do the action that goes along with it. So yeah, the candle magic is great, but doing candle magic simply by lighting a candle saying I want more money is not going to work.
I really want to lose 25 pounds, but I can tell you I'm not doing 30 to 45 minutes of exercise 3 to 5 days a week to make that happen. So it's probably not just going to show up if I get out some herbs.
25 pounds? I got about 60.
Oh, sorry.
I was talking about me.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
God.
So it is very important,
We'll talk about that integrity later.
You gotta focus your intent, and you gotta do the work. And it can be something as little as 5 minutes a day. If it's maybe you're stuck at a dead end at your job, mm-hmm. So maybe you don't want to get a promotion there. So are you taking 5 to 10 minutes every morning with your coffee to get online, update your resume, send it out,
Get a new certification.
get a new certification? They have so many online at many different websites and avenues to get it.
So I think it really is important when we talk about intent, not to just say set your intentions. It literally is align your mind, your body, and your spirit towards the goals that you have in the mundane world too, because those things are magic. Anytime you desire something and then put the work in to get it, that's part of the magic of what we do anyway in our practice. And I know, other people's practices are different, and maybe they feel that intent is the only thing that matters, and that's going to work for them. So you have to find your own practices. But for us, intent isn't just desiring or thinking about what you want. When we are putting intent into the food that we make for, like the Luna Sa bread and the soup that we made with Joy, it wasn't just intent of we need to eat. We're making food. It's literally in just pulling all of those pieces together as what ended up being the magic of that night or that production that we did. We did manifest bread. Now, granted, it wasn't magical bread in the sense of, like, didn't eat it and get sustained for life. But it is magical in the sense that is a memory that has created, that has altered how I do things and what I do and how we practice and all of those things. So intent is a critical piece of it, and you need to consider your intent.
And I want to ask about integrity. So, some pagans, mainly Wiccans, not all, some, subscribe to the threefold law and harm ye none. And how do you feel about the harm ye none as it comes into, everybody's different. And then you have to protect part of your integrity could be to protect yourself from other things.
So, I mean, if we define integrity the same way through a dictionary, it talks about, like we said, honesty, being truthful with yourself, and the act of being whole. The one thing that I do think about with integrity is also the unblemishedness of something. So, if we look at our integrity as a thing that we can manage, we're not always great at it. I've done things that I would consider I've done things that I have not considered to be full of integrity. I think every human probably has.
Sure.
But being willing to identify it, adjust it, and then later change it is important. So with integrity of our magical practice, what are we doing and what are we looking for in our result, and who are we willing to step on or hurt to get it? That's one thing. To me, that does not support integrity. What does support integrity is if somebody is saying something about me, or there's a situation going on and they're putting out these negative things, and I do something to stop that, I'm sending that energy back to them. I'm not adjusting it or transforming it into something else or coming up with it for myself and putting that out there. That's a return to sender. You're getting back what you're putting out.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, and in my practice, I would never do something to harm someone that I hasn't done anything to me or for a revenge. However, I would, for example, do a work to return energy in a way to someone that was speaking untrue of me or was doing things to harm me. And, like when they speak of me, they get violently ill, and throw up or nauseated. Absolutely, because you know what? I'm not creating that energy. I'm sending it back in a different form as protection to stop them from speaking ill of me or doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of that too is we have our own desires and our own things that we want and have worked for in our lives, and we want to use those, work with those, experience those things. And in those situations when they can't be attained, even right in front of you, you no longer feel whole. So that integrity is kind of dropped. And I feel it is appropriate to do whatever is necessary that is, safe. I'm not going to wish hurt, but to do whatever is safe and appropriate to make myself whole back again. That part of the process I think is really important.
What's the saying? Do no harm, but take no shit.
Exactly.
I kind of think that's a good way to look at it.
And do no active harm, but don't be a doormat either.
Right.
You know?
So integrity is important, but Magick doesn't require you to sit down and just take it from
Correct.
anybody. Yeah, because that's harming yourself.
Yeah, and I think when we are right now being just focused on intent and integrity. That was something we built into our episode process really early on, a long time ago, before we even started doing videos. And that's because I feel like at least, that it is important for us to discuss, consider, think about, and really be honest with what our intent is in order to maintain that integrity. And then on the other end of it, I don't like the terms light magic, dark magic. I just think it's magic. But if you're doing magic or something with an ill intent, a lot of times that's just going to reflect on you, in my experience and in my practice. But if that's something that you do, you just have to be honest with why you're doing it. I don't think that we can sit here and say that you're not allowed to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. That's not our role. It's not up to us. But our ask of you would be to at least consider what you're doing and why you're doing it, and be honest with yourself. And if all that fits the check boxes for you, then you go right ahead.
And one thing I like to think about too is if you change something, whether it's magical, through magical means or not, if you change something, other things are going to be affected. Hi, BG.
She's eating wood.
Our dog's eating wood. So just like if I go and move, if I move that, what we have our camera sitting on, if I just move it, that camera's going to fall. Other things
and I'm
are
going to beat
affected.
your ass if that happens.
He would. So just keep this, do video capture, so if I come up harmed, there's evidence, please. Same thing with magic. If you take or add energy to something or a situation, any form of manipulation, other things are going to change.
Yeah.
It could be in a way that you like or a way you don't like, as I shared will share in my example a bit. But.
Yeah, and I don't, it's science, matter or energy cannot be created nor destroyed. We may learn one day that that's not true. We don't know that now.
Good.
So I do kind of feel that feels true to me. And it feels right. So when you think about the energy that you're putting out when the directive is towards somebody that could cause harm, you might want to think about that, because that energy, maybe it won't come back to you. Maybe it won't. Maybe karma is off that day and took a break and missed what happened, and you don't ever feel that negative impact. You as a person and individual probably will feel some impact from that. And again, each of our practices are our own. But I do think that speaking to the intent and being honest with that is important, and with the integrity part. So we kind of narrow it back down, or drop it back down to the summary view is we all practice differently. We all have different thoughts of what's going on and how we do magic. But we all can practice setting intent and action, because action is always a part of intent for me. And we can always attempt to be in a manner of, I don't even know if there's a word that explains the way I want to say integritus. Mm-hmm. You can practice with integrity, I guess is the best way to say it. Pretty simply, I think, by being honest with why you're doing what you're doing, be honest with what your intent is, be honest with what you're trying to manifest, and if you make mistakes or something happens, be honest to go back and look at it and do it differently next time.
And just from my experience, unless you have a very specific thing you're working on, be careful how the wording or the focus or intent is. For example, if you're doing Reiki, distance Reiki, a lot of practitioners agree to just send out the energy for however it's needed, not to fully, your wish is that person will be healed for whatever it is, but if that energy goes and heals that person, is it going to make someone else sick that you care about, or someone that they care about? If you ask for money, be very specific with the plan. It's a common thing. That's not something I'm making up. An example, I'm asked for money, and then someone you care about dies, and you get it in the form of inheritance. Yeah. It's good to include the work part in there. Through working hard, I will get this much money, or whatever it is.
I'm sorry, the Chihuahua is attempting to catch little gnats, and she's missed every single one. Not even close.
her intent, she is putting energy and work into her intent, and she's not doing too good.
She's not manifesting.
She's not manifesting.
Probably because her intent is just to catch the fly versus, you know, what else it could be. But yeah, I think that's, you know, just kind of as a final thought on intent and integrity, it's really, to me, it's really simple. It's setting that intention. But I think our entire purpose of even having this video is that we need to consider it, and that we recommend, and you should consider, you know, what your intent is and try to do things with integrity. Again, you can practice any way you want. We're never going to say what you can and can't do, but I have had much better and very good experiences out of Magick and things that I've done in my life, and using Magick with intent that is positive and matches the situation, and with integrity. And when I didn't, identifying that and going back and checking it. I check myself. Check yourself.
And my final thought, I agree, but whether you're doing something that's magical or non-magical, always be prepared or expect what I call side effects.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed our video on intent and integrity. It was very fun to make. We had a lot of interesting thoughts going back and forth about, you know, how important it is to our practice. We hope you learned something, and, you know, if not, we hope that you enjoyed at least the video and putting together all the information that we kind of went over.
Yeah, just remember, you know, this is just our way and our experiences. There are no rules in Magick. Think about your intent and what integrity means to you, and allow room for effects from your Magick and what the universe will.
Yeah, and if you have any personal practices or thoughts on intent and integrity, we would love to see your comments.
Absolutely. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down. But either way, please subscribe.
Yep, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Till next time. I'll say that part.
Nope.
Roll that intro.
No, not cutting that. All right.
So we'll put the second one, roll that intro in. I was
Sit.
putting the dug in. Oh, that's staying in.
It would if you knew how to edit. Fuck it. Hope you enjoyed it. Deuces.